You got this. It's time to grow. Welcome to Wandering the Wild Mess with Heather Morgan. I am so happy you're here. So, I'm currently anticipating a trip back to Utah soon. And it's got me thinking about a lot of things. And one of those things is you got this. It's time to grow. I'm reflecting back on my very first trip to Tennessee and an encounter that ended up being a really key pivotal person in my journey. And it's kind of crazy to even think back on how life brings you all of the things that you need and the people that you need in your life. So I'm going to start by kind of going back to my first time landing in Nashville and a character that came into my story pretty much the first day I had ever been in Nashville. So I talked about before when I decided that I was going to go to Tennessee and I thought that's where I needed to live. I booked a flight, landed, and as soon as I got to BNA, I knew that if I was supposed to be in Tennessee, I would know. As soon as I touched down and walked off the plane, I knew I was moving. And that piece was just, there was a lot of the hows and whats and, but I didn't really allow those thoughts to overcome me. I just was like, I'm moving here. And I had booked a hotel with like this credit that I had from 2020 where I never got to use when I was supposed to come out to Nashville. And so it was just this nothing special hotel not too far from the airport. And as soon as I checked in, they had like just a little hotel bar lobby and music was playing. And I obviously Utah doesn't have live music everywhere all the time. And so I just was, overwhelmed, was just loving that there was, someone playing acoustic guitar in the hotel bar. I loved it. And I had no plans. I was just ready to rest. I knew I had a lot of thinking to do. Like this was all new for me. Really I think it was my first trip post the separation. So I'm sitting at this table in the hotel lobby bar with a drink, and I'm just listening to this great musician. And this man walks over to me and kind of looks and goes and sees I'm by myself, and he says, "Can I buy you a drink?" And I said, "Oh, I'm good. I already have one." And you got to think at this point in my life, I had been married or with someone for like this person for so long that I was not like, that wasn't really like getting approached. Like I wasn't out there. So this was like a weird thing for me. So I didn't know how to be. I mean, I was just like, no, I already have a drink. It was just very like, I was kind of probably awkward in a sense just because it was a new world. So then he proceeds to go, okay, well, would you mind if I sit here with you? And I'm not the best about stranger danger. I'm pretty good about picking up vibes. So I didn't feel any weirdness. So I was like, sure, you can sit down. So he sits down and just kind of starts making conversation. And I come to find that he had also recently been divorced. And it wasn't a divorce that he wanted. She ended up being unfaithful in the marriage and they had a couple kids. and he was very strong in his faith, so there was a million reasons why he just did not want the marriage to end, but it was what it was. And I'm one of those people that it just seems like when if you know me, like, usually I end up getting people's deep life stories one way or another, whether I want to or not, whether they just start telling me or they finally have someone that will listen. And so the fact that I knew this within probably 20 minutes with this man was kind of not unusual by any means. But I was also intrigued just because, at this time, this is August, so I'd only been separated for a few months, and I didn't know a ton of people that had been divorced, and I definitely didn't know any men that had been divorced that I had spoken with. And so we're kinda talking, and I'm, telling him, I actually am separated and this and that. And so we go on to talk, and we're having a great time, and he was in the music industry, but he lived in Pennsylvania. So he was just there for work. So he was gonna go out and he wanted me to come, but I was definitely, like, tired, so I was like, "No." And by the time we got done talking, it was already really late, and I think whatever he wanted to do was ending anyways, so he didn't end up doing that. So we both decided to, like, I'm ready to crash, so I'm like, "I'm going up to bed." And so he was like, "Yeah, I'll go up to my room too." So I'm getting off my floor, and he's kinda like, "Well, can I come with you?" But I'm like, "Absolutely not." Like, there's not even a part of my mind that was even, like, entertaining that idea. But I was like, "No." And he was like, "Can I at least get your phone number?" And I wasn't necessarily at all interested in this man or any man at this time because my life was just in a all disarray. But for some reason, I was like, "I'll give him my number." So I did. Mr. Pennsylvania. And then I went to my room, and I think he ended up texting me like, "It was so great to meet you," something like that, and like, "I know you wish I woulda came up," like, trying to be funny, and it was fine. Um, but anyways, so this man, Mr. Pennsylvania, ended up being someone that I would talk to for pretty much my up until I don't know. Let's see. I'll go on. A really long time. I don't speak with him now, but I was introduced to this person for a reason, and it was crazy because through this meeting this Mr. Pennsylvania, I would have these really low points, and I only had so many people that I could really talk to about divorce that either 1, understood it, or 2, could take that heavy weight of listening. I think it's just sometimes it's just such a like, I was just in such a funk that it was, like, really hard. So, me and Mr. Pennsylvania, we weren't really, like, talking on the phone. Randomly, we were Snapchatting, which again is not what people think it is, at least at this level. It was kind of more like, I remember Marco Polo people were using for, like, a minute. I feel like it was kinda like that, where it was almost like you're kinda, like, Marco Poloing or, like, FaceTiming where we were just talking and just sending messages back and forth, but it was perfect because it was, like, just whenever you got to it. So we'd have these, like, long Snapchat conversations just about things, and he was, like, super helpful in the mindset of me really understanding the male's perspective and, like, understanding where to when and how and to give my ex-husband grace. Not that I was ever, like, angry, but he was just giving me like, I was hearing his side of the hurt, and it was super helpful for me to have someone with that perspective, and, like, we got so great in our friendship where, like, I would when I finally did, the whole story about the high school guy at Morgan Wallen concert, like, I told him about it, and he was like, "I don't think you need to be, like, dating anybody, like, I feel like you're, like, still going through it. And so like his divorce was before mine. So he had like been through all the stages, I think, that I was like going through. And I remember it was Thanksgiving, the first Thanksgiving that after the separation, and I really didn't I had always cooked Thanksgiving. I didn't want to do Thanksgiving. And I remember just I had done like yoga in the morning and I was just crying. And I remember just like sending him this long, like, why is this like this? I don't even know why I thought he had the answer, but I was like asking, why is this like this? And he was like, Heather, it's gonna be a ride. It's not always, you're not always gonna get it. So he asked me, like, okay, well, what's your address? I want to send you something. And again, maybe that would be weird, but like the guy lives in Pennsylvania. Like at this point, we've been talking for months and months. I'm like, it's not that weird. I'm not even going to be living here forever. So I sent him my address. And this man, I literally met him at that hotel lobby for probably, maybe we spoke for 30, 45 minutes once. And then we were just Snapchatting each other, talking. He sends me this book, Winning the War in Your Mind. And the note says, you got this. It's time to grow. And when I got it, I thought, how is this man that I met for 45 minutes sending me a book via Amazon to help me? Kind as can be. And I flip it open I didn't immediately read it. I wasn't in a place to do a lot of self-reflection at that time. But when I finally decided to open it, I'm in the introduction. It's like page 2. And it says, "Time to change your mind?" Question mark. "In 10 years, we will each look in the mirror and someone will stare back. That person will be shaped by the thoughts of today. The life we have is a reflection of what we think." That's a crazy thought, right? What we think will determine who we become tomorrow. And even crazier, we probably don't even realize that it's happening. We don't think about the power of our thoughts, which only make them that much more powerful. I realized that I was trying to understand so much that my thoughts were just ruining my day because I couldn't understand why it was like this. It just was. But if I decided that it doesn't matter that much, it's going to work out, it will. Because whatever you think is inevitably the truth. And it sounds so simple, but I think as people that meet me, or if you know me, and I'm very like in that headspace that everything always works out for me, I got that because I realized all of the power that my thoughts have. And the book asks the question, do I like the direction my thoughts are taking me? If the answer is no, then maybe it's time to change your thinking. Decide to change your mind so you can change your life. So crazy to me because I'm not sure I would have ever picked up this book if a stranger I met for 45 minutes didn't decide to send it to me. And it's crazy because it's like, how is that even the first person I meet in Tennessee? Some guy from Pennsylvania. And I remember like we it's crazy the timing of everything because we continued talking even up until I moved to Tennessee. And he definitely I don't wanna speak for him, but, like, I mean, he would make comments, like, I definitely think he was hopeful that maybe we could progress into, like, a relationship, but I very much just kind of kept it like, he lives in Pennsylvania. Like, "What are we doing here? I'm not ready for all that." And he would admit that I wasn't. But, then he kinda, like, started dating, so I would hear a little bit, and then when we stopped talking, which was probably it's been over a year now. So when I moved here, I think it was right after I had bought my house in May, he had, like, started dating this girl, and he had told me a little bit about her, and, like, she was gonna meet the kids, and so finally when it was, like, there, I was like I think we both just had this random mutual thought process and agreement that, like, this was not for me, it was not appropriate to continue to, like, lean on him or reach out to him when he had a partner. So I just stopped, and so did he. And it's crazy because, like I said, I haven't talked to him in over a year, but he was presented in my life to be someone that could be there for a lot of the things that I don't know I could have went through without someone that could kinda talk me I don't wanna say, like, off the ledge, but in a sense, it was like someone that was, like, already ran the race right before me, like, "Okay, this is the muddy part. This is when this happens. This is when you have to" kinda like helping me navigate the wandering of the wild mess because he had already, like, done it, like, a year before me, so he kinda knew how the ebbs and flows of the journey were gonna go. It was almost like I got my like like the universe or life just handed me this person to support me through that point in time. And then as soon as I was on my feet and had my home in Tennessee, he was gone. And I'm telling you this because I hope we can all think and realize and appreciate the recencies and lifetime of people in your life. That was definitely a reason and a season for this human that I met for 45 minutes and then never ever met again in real life, at least. And it's just interesting to think of how it would have been had I not had that person to kind of help me through. Had I not read this book that helped me in so many ways change my mind and my thoughts, as I just wanted to sit in the sadness and discomfort, not because I wanted to be sad, but just because I didn't know how else to think. It's really easy to when you change up your life and it's uncomfortable to just think about all the things you could have done better and you should have done and this and that. But it doesn't really matter anymore. It matters what you do moving forward. Again, in 10 years, we'll look in the mirror and someone will stare back at us. It's what we do right now that kind of molds if we're happy with ourselves in the 10 years. I think sometimes life doesn't always give us clear reasons for hard times, but the hard times help you leave your past behind because it's not meant for you anymore. It's in the past. And when your past is in the rear view, your whole life can be more clear. And that's what I started to see. It doesn't matter what I could have changed. It only matters what I'm going to do moving forward. I got this. It's time to grow. And the other note said, I hope this book helps you as much as it helped me. Life always presents us with what we need. We just have to be open to receiving it and being all right with the fact that we might not make sense of all of our struggles in the moment, but later and at some point, all of it comes together. I mean, it's so cliche, but it's literally like that puzzle, like a puzzle. Like you're doing it and you're like, it's supposed to, I thought it was supposed to look like this. Is this how it goes? And once the pieces start coming together, you're like, oh my, that's right. Like that's what it looks like. And it just all fits and it all makes sense. But you can't rush it. There's a million pieces that have to be put together for it to all be some clear picture where you get it. But having faith that like, "Okay, I get it. When it happens, it'll happen how it should," is like such a powerful mindset to be in because no matter what, it's gonna make sense one day. It's all gonna work out one day. I think about when I touched down in BNA and I was like, "I'm I've gotta live here." It just ended up working. I didn't even know how. I just knew. And I think that's the best place to be in this, like, blind faith and trust is, like, I don't know how, but that's what I'm deciding, and once you decide, it's just a matter of just keep doing the things you need to do to be there, and don't even think about everything else. I wish I could go back sometimes to that girl that landed and it was like, "I'm gonna move here," because she literally didn't overthink that, she just decided. And I think more times in our life, we just need to decide and don't overthink it. You got this. It's time to grow. So as I think about revisiting Salt Lake in a short period of time, I'm reminded that the heaviness that I felt in being where I didn't feel like I belonged was easily lifted when I just chose where I wanted to be. But it didn't fix everything, which is I know people say, like, if you just because you move, it doesn't fix all the problems, right? And that's 100% true. It's a lot of the inner work. But what is so crazy about it is that sometimes just being in a new space can open up those self-discoveries. So this recent trip with me to Florida that I talked about a little on the last episode, that broaden my mind to a new world, and I think that's the key piece about sometimes getting out of your comfort zone with anything you're doing, is that you just can see things from a different perspective, and when you're looking at things from a different lens, your thoughts change, and when your thoughts change, your life changes. When your thoughts change, your life changes. So, in saying that, really what I'm telling you is what we already know. hopefully, if you listen to any kind of if you think you can or you can't, you're right. So can I go back to Utah and not get in my feelings? I wanna say yes, but I feel like no. But I feel like maybe I wanna be in my feelings just a minute because I do miss my friends so dearly, and I do miss the mountains, and there's nothing about Utah that I don't love, but I'm just not sure it's where I'm supposed to be. But I'm surely happy to go back. And when I do, I will have a super special episode. I'm really excited. But I'm going to end this with just saying that every time you're not sure how something's going to fall into place, stop thinking about whether or not it will or it won't. Just trust that whatever's supposed to happen will be the right thing. I was supposed to stay in that not so not so nice hotel by the airport and get a drink so that I could meet Mr. Pennsylvania, so that I had someone outside of a therapist and the few friends I had that I could even talk to my divorce about my divorce to. I needed that person in my life for that point in time. I needed to read this book. And because I needed those things, they came to me. But not because I was asking for them, because I just was open to receiving what I need. I still am wandering a wild mess. I am still messy and I don't know what the heck I'm doing. But the more that I'm on this little journey and thinking back to all of the things that happened after my separation, I realize it is such a wild ride and so many things worked out in my favor that I could not be more grateful. And I guess because of that, I just want to share that joy and share that and hope that you can look back at things in your life that you thought were so hard or didn't work out how you wanted and go, you know what? But then it got me here. Or this opportunity never would have presented itself if not. And I can see this going really well for me. Or this is what I truly wanted, but I just missed. I just wanted to be in the comfort of what I always known. Because most of the time we end up being happier than we were before, but we're nostalgic about what's we were used to. And I have definitely been on that train. But I realize everything's can seem better when it's in the past. We remember the good times, but it doesn't need to change our minds about the future. Every moment we're just climbing up the mountain, allowing ourselves to just take in the view. And hopefully, we realize that the view only gets better the higher we climb. This was Wandering the Wild Mess with Heather Morgan. You matter.